For years, the Su-57 has been surrounded by debate rather than certainty. Questions about production scale, engine maturity, and operational readiness have kept Russia's fifth-generation fighter in a gray zone of military analysis. That narrative may now be shifting. Following the first confirmed flight of the Su-57, equipped with the Izdeliye 177 engine, reports of accelerated production suggest a move from experimentation toward long-term industrial commitment. This development is not just about a new engine or a single aircraft variant. It signals a broader question about Russia's ability to translate advanced aerospace design into sustained manufacturing under wartime conditions and what that could mean for the future balance of air power. To understand the significance of the Su-57's latest developments, the focus needs to shift away from flight performance alone and toward Russia's aerospace industrial base. Fighter programs are not defined solely by prototypes or test flights, but by whether a country can sustain production, integration, and long-term support at scale. The reported first flight of a Su-57 equipped with the Izdeliye 177 engine suggests progress beyond experimental testing and into a more mature phase of development. In military aviation, engine readiness is often the final barrier between limited production and broader industrial commitment. Russian defense manufacturing has historically prioritized gradual integration rather than rapid rollout. New components are typically introduced in stages, tested in controlled conditions before being incorporated into serial production lines. If the Izdeliye 177 follows this pattern, it would indicate an attempt to stabilize the Su-57 program as a long-term platform rather than a limited demonstration project. Equally important is the industrial signaling behind such moves. Engine development, tooling, workforce training, and supply chain coordination require sustained investment. Any indication of increased production tempo reflects not just technological capability, but confidence in logistics, materials availability, and institutional continuity within Russia's defense industry. From an analytical perspective, this context matters more than headline numbers. The central question is not how many aircraft exist today, but whether the production ecosystem can support consistent output over time, especially under conditions of prolonged strategic pressure. The importance of the Su-57 program does not lie solely in the aircraft itself, but in what it represents strategically. Fifth-generation fighters are long-term systems designed to shape air power for decades, not short-term battlefield tools. If Russia is moving toward mass production with a more mature engine configuration, it suggests an effort to stabilize its future air combat capability under sustained strategic pressure. This shift matters because air superiority is not determined by isolated performance metrics, but by production continuity, maintenance capacity, and fleet availability over time. From a broader strategic perspective, the Su-57's evolution signals how Russia prioritizes aerospace modernization despite constraints. Rather than focusing on rapid expansion, the emphasis appears to be on gradual consolidation, building a platform that can be reliably produced, supported, and integrated into existing force structures. In this sense, the Su-57 becomes less a symbol of technological ambition and more an indicator of strategic intent, maintaining relevance in high-end air warfare through endurance rather than speed. At the technical level, the introduction of the Izdeliye 177 engine represents a critical step in the Su-57's maturation process. In fifth-generation fighter programs, engine development is often the most complex and time-consuming component, influencing performance, reliability, and lifecycle costs. While detailed specifications remain limited in open sources, the significance lies less in raw thrust figures and more in system integration. A new engine configuration suggests improvements in efficiency, thermal management, and long-term maintainability, factors that directly affect sortie rates and operational readiness. From a long-term perspective, engine standardization is essential for scaling production. Without a stable engine platform, mass manufacturing becomes inefficient and costly. If the Izdeliye 177 moves beyond testing into regular integration, it could simplify logistics, reduce maintenance variability, and support sustained fleet growth. Strategically, this points to a shift from developmental uncertainty toward operational continuity. Rather than showcasing isolated advancements, the focus appears to be on building a platform that can remain viable over extended service life, an approach that aligns with long-term force planning rather than short-term signaling. Beyond engineering and production lines, the evolution of the Su-57 program carries broader geopolitical meaning. Advanced combat aircraft are not only military assets, they are instruments of signaling, deterrence, and long-term strategic posture. For Russia, sustained production of a fifth-generation fighter suggests an effort to project stability and continuity in its defense planning. Rather than relying solely on legacy platforms, the move indicates an intention to preserve relevance in high-end air warfare over the coming decades, regardless of short-term operational pressures. At the international level, such developments are closely monitored, not for immediate shifts in balance, but for what they imply about industrial resilience. Geopolitics is often shaped less by single systems and more by the ability of states to maintain complex programs under prolonged constraints. This also influences how other actors assess risk and planning horizons. When a country demonstrates persistence in advanced aerospace production, it affects long-term calculations, from force modernization timelines to regional deterrence assumptions, without requiring overt escalation or public confrontation. In this sense, the Su-57's trajectory functions as a quiet geopolitical signal. It reflects strategic endurance rather than urgency, and long-term positioning rather than immediate tactical advantage. Viewed within a broader global context, developments like the Su-57 program highlight a key reality of modern strategic competition. The story of the Su-57 is therefore not simply about a fighter jet or a new engine variant. It is about how states adapt their military-industrial strategies to long-term geopolitical pressure and how air power evolves in an era defined by persistence rather than speed. Understanding these developments helps clarify why modern conflicts rarely hinge on single breakthroughs. Instead, they unfold through sustained effort, strategic patience, and the ability to maintain complex systems over time. This video is created strictly for educational and analytical purposes. It does not promote violence, glorify military action, or support any side in ongoing conflicts. All information presented is based on publicly available sources and open-source analysis. We believe that informed understanding, dialogue, and diplomacy remain essential to reducing global tensions and resolving conflict peacefully.